Good evening. My name is MJ Robinson, and I'm here with Black and Pink Providence. We are a group that does advocacy for LGBTQ people who are in prison. And this is a bill that one of our members has been working for several years with us and with his family on. I'm reading today on behalf of Roberta Richmond, a former warden at the ACI. She couldn't be here tonight, but we've talked with her, and she has offered a piece that she wrote last year when this was up for decision, and I'm going to read that to you tonight. The Rhode Island Senate took a critical step toward implementing age-appropriate accountability for children in the criminal justice system when it passed S237 in 2017, reappearing this year as S341 in 2019. The House should pass this legislation, its companion bill H5333, which would provide a parole hearing for everyone sentenced as a youth under 18. These hearings are opportunities for the parole board to evaluate a person's progress, but they do not guarantee release. In passing these bills, Rhode Island would join 19 states plus the District of Columbia, which bans sentencing children to die in prison without any possibility of parole. That list includes our neighbors Connecticut and Massachusetts, and such conservative states as Arkansas, North Dakota, and West Virginia. Based on my 33 years of experience in the Rhode Island Department of Corrections and the shameful fact that this type of punishment for children is unique to the United States, I feel strongly that we should be next. Before I retired in 2012, I served in a number of roles, including 10 years as the warden of the Adult Correctional Institutions women's facilities. In that job, I got to know prisoners who had been serving extreme sentences since they were teenagers. Women who were told before they'd graduated from high school that they would spend their young adulthood and many more years in prison. When they committed their crimes as adolescents, a time when scientific research makes clear their brains were still developing, they were part of a population proven to have a unique capacity for positive growth and change. They were children, and more often than not, they were children of color who had experienced severe abuse and neglect. A few of these women were paroled, including one who went in at the age of 13 and would have been released after middle age if she had been required to serve her full sentence. Another went on to graduate from college. Another got married and is a mother of 3. Yet, even while they were in prison and knew they might not be released for decades, it was clear that they were no longer the children they were when they arrived. They developed into an impressively stable group of women with a profound commitment to self-improvement. They refused to be defined by the worst thing they had done or even by the reality of their incarceration. It is no secret that teenagers can and do commit horrible crimes in Rhode Island and elsewhere. Should these bills pass, Rhode Island's highly skilled parole board would continue to assess, but only after 15 years had passed, whether the person before them is truly rehabilitated. The parole board is rigorous. In fiscal year 2015, 90% of inmates released from the ACI had served the entirety of their sentence, and examines things like disciplinary records and behavior in prison and the details of the person's offense. If the board is not convinced, it can and does refuse to grant release, regardless of how long the person has been incarcerated. For many of the women with whom I worked, and many others sentenced as youths, decades in prison without a parole hearing extinguishes hope for change and redemption. Hope, as we know, is the motto of our great state, and it is therefore a value we hold most dear. These bills are the embodiment of that, offering these men and women the possibility of a second chance to make fruitful contributions to society. By passing this legislation, Rhode Island would be following both the mandate and spirit of the U.S. Supreme Court rulings since 2005, which scaled back the use of our country's most severe punishments for children, and said each time with increased confidence and clarity that children are fundamentally different from adults. Specifically, the court has written that those passing sentence must take into account how children are different and how those differences counsel against irrevocably sentencing them to a lifetime in prison. That's a quote. Both the American Bar Association and the American Corrections Association have passed resolutions opposing life without parole sentences for youth. The way forward on this issue is clear. Thank you.